We at the CPR Worldwide Media Network, your constitutional patriot radio station, would like to take a moment to reach out to a portion of our listening audience, to the NSA, the mainstream media, to liberals masquerading as conservatives who would like to see us off the air, and to those who are spinning their wheels trying to take us down. We have a special message just for you. At the CPR Worldwide Media Network, we're happy to be your 24/7, 365 obsession because, while you have your little panties in a wad, we're speaking truth to power, telling real conservatives what you don't want them to hear, the truth, and we're not gonna stop. Now then, back under your collective bridges with the rest of your fellow trolls, and oh yes, thanks for listening to CPR.
This is a station identification moment. You're listening to CPR Worldwide Media, a division of CPR Media Network, coming to you live right across the planet. Check out our website at www.cprworldwidemedia.com and our Facebook page at facebook.com/CPR Worldwide Media. This is CPR Media Network, coming to you live from the USA.
Well, looky here, a new listener. Hey, this ain't your little sister's radio station.
You're listening to Right Side Patriots on CPR Worldwide Media.
We, the people.
And welcome to Right Side Patriots on CPR Worldwide Media. Craig Andreessen from the National Patriot, Diane from the Patriot Factor. Together we are the Right Side Patriots. Great to have you with us on a Saturday. Diane, you feeling any better than you were on Wednesday?
Well, I'm getting there. I finally gave in after 2.5 weeks and got antibiotics because I couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah,
and what about you, Craig? You sound a lot stronger and happier.
I feel better. It's slow. It's a slow go, but I feel better.
Good.
Thank you for asking. You say you couldn't take it any longer. How do you think the rest of us felt? Not that you've been complaining.
I've been whining, folks, because this was the first time I had been sick in 11 years. I hadn't even had so much as a cold. And this flu hit me, this flu brought in by our illegal friends, because it is not the flu that our vaccines were geared up to protect against, hit me hard.
It hit you like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, like a ton of bricks. I mean, guys, I filled up more big brown shopping bags with tissues, at least 5 or 6 of them with tissues, box after box of tissues, hacking, coughing, a headache for over 10 days. I mean, it was just nasty, nasty stuff. And I was getting better, but I wasn't getting better fast enough. And it went into my sinuses, and I finally said enough. And the doctor, prescribed some antibiotics, and that seems to have really made the difference.
I had to go into the hospital to get away from Diane's whining. That's how bad it got.
Now, you notice, now let's be honest with the people. once we knew what happened with you, my whining really stopped because I was very concerned about you because pancreatitis is serious business, folks.
Well, it is, and they managed to tell me that pretty much right off the bat. Which, you
Yeah.
know, when they tell you that we don't know what caused this, but you've got a virus in your pancreas, and 30% of the people that get it, wind up dying from it. I'm like, well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Just what you need to know is you're in agony.
Yeah,
But
I'll
you
rest
know
so
what,
much easier.
You know what, Craig? I really think, yours was caused by, thank God they ruled out everything else. Yours was caused by a virus.
Right.
Now, isn't it strange that all of a sudden cases like yours are starting to pop up all over the country? Does the word illegals and their little diseases they're bringing in have anything possibly to do with it?
I mean, we just don't know at this point.
That's
I mean,
what I
this,
mean. That's what I mean.
Yeah, it could be. We don't know. They told me literally we have no idea. What brought this on. It's just a very strange thing. If you really want to go on a diet, get pancreatitis. Holy crap.
Yeah.
I've been home for a week. Okay, I got home a week ago last night. So it's been basically just shy of 2 weeks since this hit me, and I've lost right at 30 pounds in 2 weeks.
Wow. But it's not a diet I would recommend people going on.
No. Oh man. It was a nasty bit of stuff, but it did save me from 5 days of Diane's whining about the flu. So
Hey, excuse me, but I then had to get this past 2 weeks of Craig whining about, I want meat. And
I
he
have-
can't eat it, folks.
I have not said that. I have not said that. Now you're making stuff up like
No.
other people.
No. He has been whining for all
I
the
have not
foods
been
he's
whining.
Not allowed to.
I have not been. I'll tell you this: I'm either really going to grow to love Gatorade, or I'm going to grow to hate it because I've been drinking a lot of Gatorade. They told me, drink Gatorade. It's good for you because it's got the electrolytes in it. Okay. So
Well,
I've been.
this will turn into a he said, she said.
Well, so I've been pounding back the Gatorade and the apple juice because they said that was good for me. Now I have had some meat. I haven't had. I did have a little bit of red meat because there was some in the lasagna that I ate.
Okay.
So and I've had some chicken and things like that. But basically, I've been living. They say man cannot live on bread alone. I beg to differ.
But folks, we do need to remind you of one thing. Never mix Gatorade with chocolate pudding.
Well, that wasn't the problem. 'Cause I didn't actually mix them. I had them like 2 hours apart
They don't
from
sit
each other.
well.
And there are other factors involved in that. We won't get into that, but it's just a really weird thing, to go through, and I've been. Let me put it this way: the squirrels out in the backyard are eating more than I am.
Oh, no.
Right
And
now.
in
Oh, yeah.
Nebraska, that's saying a lot because it is cold. Maybe not this week, but normally it's cold.
This week it's been absolutely fantastic. It's going to be up in the 60s today, so I'm happy with that. So, but now the thing to bear in mind, folks, is that Diane and I are both getting better. Diane is no longer honking like Felix Unger, and and I'm getting better, and so. But we took a couple of shows off, to kind of recuperate from all of this, and we thank you folks for bearing with us while we did that. Now, Wednesday, we did our show on Wednesday live. If you missed any part of that, and it was a huge show with our good friend Mudar Zakran, as our special guest. We're going to rebroadcast that right after this show at 1 p.m. Eastern Time today. So you don't want to miss it. Even if you caught it before, take another listen to it, because there is a lot of information that Mudar passed along regarding ISIS and the whole situation over there with the Jordanian pilot. So keep that in mind. Now, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about today, too, Diane.
Yes.
We've got Obama's prayer breakfast speech. Anybody heard of that? I mean, I know it's been kind of quiet, but he gave a speech at the prayer breakfast.
Yeah, and don't you love it when he actually condemns an entire religion, but it's not Islam that he condemned?
Yeah, well, I mean, what do you expect, really?
Yes.
We're going to get into that a little bit later. We're going to bring you up to speed on ISIS. There's been more people burned alive by ISIS in the last 24 hours, so we're going to get you up to speed on that. Diane's got a great article out, From the Fire, Truth Emerges. You really want to go to her blog at thepatriotfactor.blogspot.com. Take a look at that. We're going to talk about that. I did an article on Tom Brady's balls. It's because I felt somebody had to. Yeah, we'll kind of wrap up the show with that today.
Balls have been in the news a lot lately. People who have balls and people who need to grow balls.
So we're gonna get you all up to speed with all of that as the show motors its way through today, as we persevere to bring you the very best. But let's start with some quick hitters today. This first one.
We're still giving Muhammad a rest, guys, because with what happened this week, we really don't want to hear his screeching.
No, I've had about enough of that idiot. Chinese officials, Diane, have seized truckloads of toilet paper.
Yes. Isn't that interesting? But not for the reasons that people would think. Because they have the image of the Chinese leader on them.
Yeah, and apparently they kind of take umbrage at the fact that they put the leader's picture on rolls of toilet paper. Now, I don't know what the big deal is. I've got rolls of toilet paper here with Obama's picture on them. Well, you don't buy them from the store that way, but after you use them.
Oh, that's bad.
So I don't know what the big deal is, but apparently in China it's frowned upon.
Yes, and
what
it is that this is an image of the pro-Beijing Hong Kong chief executive Liang Chun-ying. This is not the head of the Chinese government or anything. He is a pro-Beijing Hong Kong leader. Remember, Hong Kong really wants its independence.
Yeah, they kind of got reabsorbed by China, and they haven't been happy about it. So
no, not at all. And so this is just, come on, you got major things to worry about in China. You have major problems in China. Do you really care whose image is on toilet paper? This was a limited run that was printed as a gag. They seized only about $12,900 worth of goods. So you're not talking about a tremendous amount of toilet paper. It would have run out, it would have run its course, and that would have been it. But instead, no, they have to make a big deal about toilet paper.
Yeah, $12,000 worth actually works out to about 8,000 rolls.
Okay, I mean, come on. This is ridiculous. China's got problems. They have Muslim problems, but at least they deal with them. They execute them right away.
Well, yeah.
They've got economic problems. They have pollution problems. They have rebellion problems. They have tons of problems. And they're worried about a few rolls of toilet paper.
Now, one thing that was not mentioned in the article, and this is what I would like to know, was it one ply or two?
Ah, you're right. It wasn't mentioned. But by looking at the pictures and looking how thin the toilet paper is, I would guess it's one ply.
Well, which would explain a lot of why, folks in China tend to be cranky.
Or they go through toilet paper like water.
Well, anyway, folks, look, if you got rolls of toilet paper with the Hong Kong leader's picture on it, hang on to them because they are now collector's items.
Yes.
Over in our country, the IRS apparently has gone on a hiring spree. They have rehired 141 former employees, and these are 141 former employees, Diane, that have a history of not paying their taxes.
Yeah, isn't that happy news? Just like Al Sharpton still gets to operate and do all the bad things he does when he owes $4 million in back taxes to the IRS, and the fact that every single business he has ever started has never paid taxes.
You talk about Sharpton and his tax issues. Let me just put this in perspective for our listeners. Al Capone owed $150,000 in taxes. They threw him in prison. They sent Al Capone to the Rock. Okay? Sharpton owes $4.5 million in taxes, and he gets to have lunch at the White House.
Yes, he cozies up to Obama. Well, you know, they have a lot in common. They're both haters, and especially white haters, and, you know, collective guilt. They love to throw that collective guilt around, but, you know, what can you expect? But here's an interesting fact about this IRS hiring. Between 2010 and 2013, when this data is gathered from, more than 7,000 former employees were rehired.
Mm-hmm.
And out of that, 824 who returned to the agency, they were allowed to resume their jobs despite their checkered work history. And nearly 1/5 of those may have already run into new performance or conduct problems by the time this article came out.
Now, at a time, Diane, when people are putting their taxes together and filing their taxes, isn't it nice to know that the IRS, who insists that you declare every penny you've ever made in your life, is hiring people who just won't pay their taxes and are in other forms of trouble?
Yeah, isn't it though? Isn't it though? So in other words, we have criminals in the IRS. Not that we didn't know that. We have criminals heading the IRS. We all knew that. But now we have criminals actually who are going to be the ones that are going to be looking at our papers and everything.
Isn't that great?
Isn't it great? They probably have a rubber stamp. This one's a Tea Party. This one's a Patriot. This one's a conservative. We need to really look at their taxes.
Yeah, I mean, then there's the person there that sits there and goes, "Oh, that's Diane Sorey. Audit."
Followed by Craig Andreessen.
Yeah.
Double audit.
I mean, we know how that works, but good Lord. I mean, you know, it's bad enough that you got to give the government your money to begin with, but then to be turning it over to people who won't pay their own taxes,
Right.
I mean, but yet Obama, remember, what was it, about a year ago, he said there was not a smidgen of corruption in the IRS. Not a smidgen.
No, there's a lot. He's right. There's not a smidgen. The entire thing is corrupt.
It's
but
dripping
listen
with
to the
it.
charges that the people that were rehired, listen to the charges that had been leveled against them. Fraud, accessing taxpayers' information without authorization, falsifying official documents, and workplace disruption. Yet they were rehired.
Holy crap, they rehired Obama.
Yeah! Oh, it just gets better and better in Obama land, doesn't it, folks?
Yeah, and folks, these are the people that are going to be in charge of making sure you pay your Obamacare premiums.
Yes. Otherwise, you get hit with the penalty, and the next thing you know, they'll be coming for you with the handcuffs.
It's not just your taxes. Now it's your health.
Yes, it's your life.
Good Lord, it's IRS. I'm telling you, I've had about enough of them. And finally, today, it seems over at NBC, Brian Williams has just been making crap up.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how else to put it, but I mean, this guy, he's the anchor of their nightly news. I mean, all three of their viewers over there, been lied to by him. This all broke, Diane, the other day when it came out. Remember, it was about a decade ago, where he said that he was in a helicopter in Iraq that was hit by an RPG and forced down. He's been telling that story for a decade. Yes. Turns out that the military guys that he was with said, no, that didn't happen.
Got to give our military credit for that, because they hung this little liberal, so to speak.
Well, they did. They kind of hung him out to dry. But I mean, look, if you're going to be making stuff up, make stuff up about stuff that nobody else was around to see.
True. True.
I mean, here he is in a helicopter full of military personnel that didn't have a problem in the world. There was a chopper, I want to say it was about 10 miles ahead of him, that got hit by an RPG and had to make an emergency landing, but it wasn't his, and he didn't even see it. He couldn't even see it from where he was, and yet he's been telling the story for a decade that he was the one that was in the helicopter that was hit and forced to make an emergency landing. Now, it's only gotten worse, really, since that revelation came out, because now he's being caught in a whole bunch of lies regarding Hurricane Katrina.
Yes. And they're investigating some other things as well. But don't you just love how social media has grabbed upon this and all the funny cartoons about him? I mean, one I have right now this one is great. I lied about being shot at, then I lied about the lie. Oh, well, at least I can qualify as Hillary Clinton's press secretary.
And I saw one yesterday. Just a headshot of Brian Williams, and it says, "So there I was, sitting on the moon with Neil Armstrong."
Yes.
I saw one this morning of a photo of Brian Williams standing between Ulysses S. Grant and Abe Lincoln on the battlefield.
Oh, yes, I saw that one too. Yes. Yes.
I love it.
Yeah, don't you though? And here's, I just ran that one up now. Oh, here's another one. I, too, was a victim of the Crusades. And in all these pictures, folks, he's sitting at his news desk very sternly. So this stuff is good for a laugh. This is supposed to have been America's foremost newsmen.
Well, and look who came out to defend him, Dan Rather, who has a dubious relationship with the truth himself.
Yes.
Came out and said, well, he's an honorable man. You shouldn't be besmirching him. I'm sorry, Dan Rather. You're the one that cooked up the whole thing and lied about George W. Bush.
That's right.
I mean,
that's right.
Good grief.
Excuse me. This, this news organization is just ridiculous. MSNBC has 7, viewers every night, and
yeah, about that.
And NBC, the main head of that whole organization. I mean, come on, guys. This man needs to be fired immediately. He is a pathological liar.
And you got to hand it. He
fits right in with the Obama crew, obviously.
Well, he does, and you got to hand it to Tom Brokaw, though, because Tom Brokaw came out yesterday and said NBC needs to get rid of Brian Williams.
Yes, immediately.
Brokaw's a lefty himself, okay?
Yeah.
But he's got some journalistic integrity. I mean, at least he knows that you don't make stories up.
Yes. And here's another one, guys. Yesterday was Ronald Reagan's birthday. He was born 104 years ago. He would have been 104. But I guess you didn't know Brian Williams was there.
I mean, look, the guy can have absolutely, he can't go on TV and deliver the news. He has no credibility whatsoever now. I mean, he's been outed. Not that he had credibility before, but now he's officially been outed as not having any integrity whatsoever. NBC, as left as they are, as far up Obama's pant leg as they are, they cannot afford to have Brian Williams delivering the nightly news. He's got to go.
I mean, absolutely has to go, but heaven forbid they bring back Katie Couric.
Ugh.
Or Brian Gumbel. I mean, if they want any legitimacy as a news organization, they need to clean house completely, and then maybe start rebuilding from,
From the ground up.
foundation, because they have now, with this man's lies, every monicum. I mean, if they even had 1 ounce of credibility, it's now shot to hell.
Well, and Brian Williams, he gets up there the other day and offers this kind of half-assed apology where he says, well, I was mistaken. I guess I actually wasn't in the helicopter. You were mistaken?
You lied.
Look, you lied, you idiot. I mean, look, if you're in a helicopter and you're flying through a war zone and nothing happens to your helicopter, you know nothing happened to it. If you got hit by an RPG, you'd know that too. Okay?
Yes.
All the military guys that were in the chopper with him or in the other choppers around him, they said it didn't happen. His helicopter was never scratched. So puts him right there with Hillary, though.
Yeah, it does. But you know what? Don't think you won't be getting some spin that they were wrong. It's our military's fault. I'm waiting for that to come because it's coming.
Yeah, I mean, but, this is like Hillary saying that she got shot at in Bosnia, and then she had to recant that because, right away, people that were there said, it never happened.
Yes.
Well, this is the same type of thing. Brian Williams is embellishing his story to make himself look more heroic and more viable, relevant, whatever word you care to use. But, when the military comes out and says, nope, didn't happen. And then, with this Katrina thing, he said, well, I saw a guy jump off the balcony and commit suicide after Katrina there in the Superdome. People at the Superdome said, nope.
Never happened.
Never happened.
Well, you know what's funny about this? This thing with the military happened back in 2003. Nobody picked up on it then. If he had kept his mouth shut now, no one would have ever known about this. But he had to reiterate this on some program he was on. He was the one that brought it all up.
Yeah, I mean, he did it on Letterman's show.
Yeah. Well, I don't watch Letterman, so I don't know where he did it, but I know he did it.
Yeah.
I can't stand David Letterman. I miss Jay Leno. I mean, he was funny.
I miss Jay Leno, but I got to tell you, I'm becoming a fan of Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon is one of the most talented guys out there. I mean, he can do things that other people can't. But I mean, I miss Johnny.
Well, that was the king of late night, and will always be the king of late night.
There will never be another Johnny Carson. So
no, Leno might have been the prince, but that's about it. There is nobody like Carson. But Craig, we need to get NBC to either ship up or shut down.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's getting to the point now where, you can be a network news anchor, but you can just make crap up and sit there in your high-powered anchor chair making millions and millions of dollars a year. It's wrong. You're misleading the public.
Right.
And when you get called out the way Brian Williams did, it's time to fold up your chair and get the hell out of Dodge.
And he's not even really a reporter per se. He's not a journalist. He's a talking head. He reports from a teleprompter what's written for him. He's not, okay, you and I are journalists. We write articles. We do investigative reports. Yes, he will stand in front of the cameras before, in a foreign country or whatever, but he's reading off a teleprompter.
Yeah, but you have to remember too, Diane, he's also the head of the news department at NBC. So
that makes this even more grievous. The
exactly.
fact that he is the head of the news department.
Exactly. All the anchors at the networks are also the head of the news department. And when you're just sitting there making crap up, you're putting your entire organization in jeopardy. So NBC, get rid of him. Find somebody else. You could almost train a monkey to be as respectable as Brian Williams. So,
yes,
folks, we got a lot to do. We're going to have to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about that little prayer breakfast gaffe of Obama's. I'm sure it'll be labeled a gaffe by the end of next week. It was absolutely one of the most astounding things I've ever heard in my life, folks. We're going to get into that in just a couple of minutes. Don't go anywhere. Diane and I will be back after this.
It's not about how many miles you can get out of the C-Max Hybrid. It's about how much life you can fit into it. The Ford C-Max Hybrid, with an EPA estimated range of 540 miles on a tank of gas, and all the room you need to enjoy the trip. Go stretch out. Go further.
Citigold is an account from a global bank with over 200 years experience, offering international banking expertise across over 100 markets. Your dedicated investment consultant adds a unique personal touch to your banking experience. Complimentary lifestyle offers like Marhaba service and free global money transfers help you save on time and money. At the core of Citigold is your dedicated relationship manager, personally looking after your financial needs. Be it lifestyle privileges like golf, lounge access across the Middle East, or worldwide privileges, Citigold provides you with a rewarding experience. One card is all you need for all your Citibank accounts. As a Citigold client, you benefit from our international expertise and global reach. Citigold is more than an account. It's a personal banking service offering exceptional privileges, customer service and recognition worldwide. So wherever you are, Citigold will be with you.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
I'm just an old black sheep from the family tree. I'm now a vet and a victim of society. Hell, I stood by the gun just to keep us free. Now my own damn country's turned its back on me. You wanna judge me by my leathers and the steel I ride? Well, you don't know me. You need to step aside. Don't tread on me. You don't tread on me. From the Revolution War to the Middle East, I come back to a country that's lost its peace. And now here I stand on the promised land, free and a slave to Uncle Sam. You wanna judge me by my leathers and the steel I ride? Well, you don't know me. You you need to step aside. Don't tread on me. You don't tread on me. Well, you think you know me, but you haven't got a clue. I stood and fought so that you would not have to. Don't tread on me. Yeah, don't tread on me. You wanna judge me by my leathers and the steel I ride? Well, you don't know me. You need to step aside. Don't tread on me. Now don't tread on me. Now don't tread on me. Now don't tread on me. Yeah, the old this is like a man down. The old W's, K-I-A's, M-I-A. And our 5 little soldiers in a foreign land.
And welcome back to Right Side Patriots. Craig Andreessen and Diane Sorey with you. And Diane, stop me if you've heard this one, but a Muslim walks into a prayer breakfast and blames ISIS on the Crusades.
Yeah, you know what? If it wasn't so serious, so grievous a statement, it would actually be funny.
I mean, I was just astounded. I mean, I tune into the prayer breakfast, with like one ear, and I don't really pay that much attention to what's going on at the thing. But, when Obama gets up to speak, you never know what's going to happen. And so I kind of had an ear and a half on it. And all of a sudden, he's talking about how bad Christianity is and the Crusades and the Spanish Inquisition.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, what?
But you know what really got me, Craig? And all it was 4 words. His words, he started, "No God condones terror." Do you know what that means, folks? Listen to them again. No God condones terror. Those words are alluding to the fact that there's more than one God, as in the false God known as Allah. If he was a Christian, like he professes himself to be, he would have said, "Our God does not condone terror." He wouldn't have said, "No God." That means in his mind, there's more than one God.
Well, there are the Facebook gods.
Well, they're in a category all their own. Yeah. They're special unto us, Craig. But seriously, folks, no God. I'm sorry, but there's only one true living God of the Christians and Jews. There's not a multitude of gods to choose from. And I am not condemning Buddhists or Hindus. They are well entitled to their beliefs. But that is not what Obama is talking about.
Not even close to what he's talking about. I mean, he gets up there at this thing, and he was lecturing, is what he was doing. He was lecturing anybody who was within earshot or watching on TV that, unless we get on our high horse and think this is unique to some other place,
right?
A lot of bad things were done in the name of Christ. And I mean, I was just stunned.
Yes, but what the main problem is in this, and don't mind me, guys, I'm still sucking on a lozenge here. What the problem is that, technically, yes, bad things were done during the Crusades and during the Inquisition. But first of all, they forget, or I should say, Obama forgets, is that the Crusades were when armed Christians from Western Europe heeded Pope Urban II's plea to go to war against Muslim forces attacking Christian pilgrims in the Holy Land. The Crusades weren't started because, hey, we want this territory, we want that territory. They were done to protect Europe and protect Christian pilgrims.
Yeah,
but the thing Obama forgets, Craig, and this is key, we, the Western world, have been at war with Islam since its inception. The difference is, yes, at one time Christianity did do so-called bad things. However, they went through their Reformation. They changed their ways. And the simple fact is that Islam has never undergone a desperately needed reformation to basically and simply enter the modern world. They are still living in 632 AD.
Yeah, I mean, they're stuck in the 7th century. You know, what a lot of people don't realize, if you look at the history of the Crusades, is that the Muslim incursions, the Muslim, genocide, their ideology of genocide and domination was taking hold before the Crusades ever started. The Crusades, like Diane said, were a response to Muslim brutality and Muslim barbarianism. Were bad things done in the name of Christ and Christianity? Yeah. Okay. That was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Okay. The bad stuff that Islam is doing happened today and yesterday and the day before that. And, when you get right down to it, okay, Christianity is the following of Jesus, who was, by all accounts, a pretty nice guy. I hate to boil it down like that in a nutshell, but, except for going berserk in the temple a couple of days before his arrest and flipping over tables and chasing people out, Jesus was pretty much just a nice guy. But you look at Muhammad. The guy was a pedophile. He was misogynistic. He was a ruthless, brutal barbarian.
Yes.
Okay. So over the centuries, people that follow Christianity have decided that maybe being brutal wasn't really what Jesus had in mind. And they reformed and they did away with that stuff. Okay. On the other hand, you look at Islam, and they are still following this brutal, barbaric 7th century pedophile.
Yes. Yes. And what's dangerous, like Craig and I always say, they're 7th century barbarians now in possession of 21st century weapons. This is a very, very dangerous combination. And when this man stands up there and says, Islam has always been a part of our country and this and that, yeah, it has been, but not in the way he thinks. Because if you remember, and if you look at history, guys, Thomas Jefferson went to war against the Barbary pirates. Who were the Barbary pirates? Muslims, followers of Islam. And yes, it's true, Thomas Jefferson did indeed have a Quran, but not because he thought Islam was a just and noble religion. No, he used the Quran to study Islam and understand the mindset of the brutal enemy our new country was facing.
Jefferson was unique in that regard. He was a guy, he knew he was going to have to go to war. He knew it was going to be really America's first war overseas. And he thought, if we're going to do this, we got to do this right. We've got to understand the enemy. So he got himself a couple of copies of the Quran and he studied. And he made sure he understood the mindset of 7th century barbarians. And so, in 1804, 1805, when he sent our young Navy to the Barbary Coast to fight the Muslim pirates over there, they knew what they were in for. They knew what they were getting into. the Muslims have been a problem since Muslims were created.
Yeah, and they were created, guys. They were the afterthoughts, the reality of a madman's delusions. Remember, Allah is a false god. He's a made-up
false
deity
prophet. A false
by
prophet.
Muhammad.
Yeah.
He's nothing. He took an ancient god, Allah, which was a pagan god which came before all modern religions, and he bastardized it and turned it into Allah. There's no God, Allah.
And this is why, if you actually sit down and read the Quran, you will find little bits and pieces of other known religions. You will find, hat tips or mentions to Judaism, to Christianity, and so on. Because Muhammad, as the quote-unquote prophet, he understood that nobody was going to follow him if they thought he was just making something up like Brian Williams does. Mm-hmm. He realized that he was going to have to include bits and pieces of religions that the people he wanted to dominate already understood. Otherwise, they would never think that he was anything special. They'd just think he was nuts. So he borrowed these little bits and pieces, just enough to make uninformed, uneducated people believe that he was on some higher plane.
And remember this also, guys, the people that became the first Muslims way back in 632, they became Muslims because they were conquered. They were Christians and Jews who were forced by Muhammad's armies to convert to Islam.
Yeah, and you see the same thing today, either convert or die.
Exactly. And this is the mindset of Islam. This is why they need a reformation if they are ever to be taken seriously as a religion. I don't take them as a religion. I call them, and I always have, a political system, a cult, in the guise of a religion. And I always say, Islam wraps its tentacles around its followers, until it squeezes the life out of them. Because if you don't give your life to Islam, you're going to die. It's that simple.
And so there was Obama at the prayer breakfast the other morning, standing up there telling everybody that, don't get on your high horse about, this ISIS business and then burning this pilot. Don't get on your high horse about that and all the brutality. And, don't get on your high horse, because if you claim to be a Christian, you're just as guilty as they are. No, see. And then he likened slavery and Jim Crow, pulled that right in there too, which is a typical liberal bullcrap trick when you get right down to it, because there is nobody alive today who ever owned a slave in this country. Okay.
Correct.
Now, slaves are still being traded in parts of the world, mostly by Muslims.
Yes.
He tends to leave that out.
Yes.
But just like there was nobody alive in this country today who owned a slave in the South, there's nobody alive today who took part in the Crusades or the Inquisition. No. So you cannot sit there and say, hey, you're just as guilty. No. That was hundreds of years ago. This is now. This is the here and now of it. And this is what was so damned offensive in Obama's speech at that prayer breakfast. I mean, he came off as, hey, don't come down on my religion, Islam, when right. You're just as guilty. I mean, that's the way it came across.
Yeah, and as far as the Jim Crow laws go, what Obama selectively forgets is that the Jim Crow laws were segregation laws. They were championed by the Democrats, and it was the Republicans who championed their elimination. He even had to lie about that.
Well, yeah. I mean, you think a lot of people have heard the term. They don't really know where it comes from. Dixiecrats. Well, those were the Southern Democrats that were all in favor of the Jim Crow laws. They invented the Jim Crow laws. They wanted that segregation. These are the same people who did not want an end to slavery. Now, slavery was more based on economics than it was on race. Okay? But there wasn't a single slave in the United States that wasn't sold to slave traders by their fellow Africans.
Exactly. That's what people forget. That's the history they love to gloss over. A majority of the slaves were actually sold to the trade slavers by their own chiefs.
Yeah, I mean,
Excuse me. By their own chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, this was the general practice over there. That's how they wound up over here. Okay. Now, was it right to keep slaves in this country? No. No, it wasn't. But that ended over 150 years ago.
But you know what, Craig? Every race, every people, every nationality has been slaves at one time or another.
That's right.
Slavery has existed since time began, basically, to one degree or another. The black race having been slaves for X number of years in the world's history is no different than any other people being slaves. The Jews were slaves in Egypt. The Christians were slaves to the Romans. This one was slaves to that one. This one was slaves to another one. Yet everybody else has done away with slavery, except the Muslims. They are the world's biggest slave traders today.
Yeah, so don't be getting on your high horse, you lop-eared loon, and tell me that the reason Islam is what Islam is because of the Crusades hundreds of years ago. Islam has never changed. They've been that way since 632 AD, since the moment that Islam was conceived of. It has been the way it is today. Nothing has changed. So when Obama gets up there and starts blathering on about the Crusades and the Inquisitions and how rotten Christianity is, he totally leaves out the timeline, and he totally leaves out today's Islam.
Yes.
So it's a completely bogus argument.
And the thing that gets me really angry, and I mean furious, is did you ever notice how the man who claims he's a Christian, even though no church in our country has a record of him ever converting from the Islamic faith that he was raised in, he loves to bash Christians and Christ every chance he gets. And he loves to distort, to change Christian history. All the time he's speaking how wonderful Islam is. But guess what? Islam is anything but wonderful, because Islam is Islam is Islam. It's one vile package with no deviations from its perverted 7th century norms allowed. You have to understand, there are no moderate Muslims. There are no radical Muslims. Islam is Islam is Islam. Remember, the Turkish Prime Minister Erdogan, who is a practicing Muslim, said there is no difference. There is only one Islam. Now, this is an Islamic leader saying that, and here it is. This man and others are trying to separate Islam into compartmentalized compartments. No, it's one thing.
And then you've got a guy like Muammar Zakran. Okay?
Yes.
Muammar is a practicing Muslim.
Yes.
He has reformed. He looks at it from a standpoint of reformation. He realizes that the only way Jordan survives is if Israel survives. It's in Jordan's best interest to be friends with Israel. And you know, Muammar understands the difference between the Arab nations and the Islamic nations.
Yes, he also understands, Craig, and this is important, and people really need to realize this. He understands the difference between the Quran and the Hadith.
Yeah, and there is some difference there. I'm not ready at any point to say that the Quran is a book of decency.
Either am I. I've read it numerous times.
61% of the Quran itself deals with violence and punishment and barbarism. Okay?
Yes.
61% of it. The Hadith is even worse. Okay? But Islam is the problem. And this is what Obama won't say. He would not say it at the prayer breakfast. At the prayer breakfast, he wanted to make it out like Christianity was the problem.
Yes. But you know what really makes me laugh? At the end, he announced that he is going to meet with the new Pope, Pope Francis, when he comes to the U.S. later this year, and that he's going to be speaking before a joint session of Congress. And you know what, Craig? After his rant at this prayer breakfast, I wish Pope Francis would have the guts to slap Obama up his Islam-loving, terrorist-condoning, Christian and Jew-hating head. But we know that's not going to happen, but I can wish for it, can't I?
You know, Pope Francis already has a history of meeting with Muslims. What's one more?
Yes. What's one more? I know, it's sad to say. But this Pope, I mean, if he had been like Pope John or the world's great popes, he would call this man out when he speaks before Congress. He would say to him point blank, look him right in the eye, you damned the religion that you supposedly belong to. How dare you?
Well, you know, Pope Francis is not that kind of guy. He's not going to be that kind of pope ever. He's kind of the coexist pope.
I know, and that's a shame.
Which is sad because you can't coexist with these animals. You can't.
No, it's simple. You cannot coexist with people out to kill you. And don't think they're not out to kill you, because the 3 people that ISIS just burned alive were civilians.
Well, and we're going to get into that here in just a couple of minutes. But, you know, this whole prayer breakfast thing, you know, it's clear at this point with 2 years left, Obama doesn't give a damn anymore.
Correct.
He'll say anything. He doesn't care. You know, and this was just part of it. And, you know, there's a you know, leftist movement out there. Oh, you can't criticize him. He was right. No, he left out too much to have been right. He was cherry picking. He was ignoring the timeline. He was ignoring history. He was ignoring the present. You know, that doesn't make him right. That just makes him a cherry picker and basically a liar.
Yes. Yes. And that's what Obama is. He's a liar. Every word out of his mouth is a lie or a distortion or a fabrication. I mean, the man would not know the truth if it walked up to him and looked him right in the eye and shook him. I mean, Obama and the truth are polar opposites. I mean, remember, this is the man that believes in climate change, which is the weather, folks. This is the man who wants nothing better than to take our hard-earned dollars and give it to people who don't do anything just to keep their votes in line with the Democratic Party. I mean, this is a man that how he is sitting in that White House, and we know it's through voter fraud, manipulation, the dead voting. We all know that. But what gets me, Craig, and will always get me, is his use of the race card. Yep. Because people need to remember, he is not America's first black president. He is America's first mixed-race, biracial president. And yet, everyone in Congress is still afraid of that race card being used against them.
Well, I'll tell you, it was just after that prayer breakfast thing. Diane and I were talking, and she said, "Did you hear?" And I said, "I sure did." We didn't even have to finish the sentence. We both knew what we were talking about. It was just, it was just one of the most surreal moments of any presidency I can remember. It was just absolutely idiotic. Folks, we're going to have to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to bring you up to speed on things going on with ISIS. Trust me, it's not getting any better at all. So stay where you are. Diane and I will be back after a brief time out with more on Right Side Patriots right here on CPR Worldwide Media.
The design of the Ford Escape is clearly intended to grab your eye. Oh, and your foot. Huh, ain't that a kick? The Ford Escape with the foot-activated liftgate. Go open up something interesting. Go further.
I believe that every single one of us has what it takes
to win back-to-back gold.
Ski faster than any other human.
I believe it's possible to overcome fear.
I believe
it's possible to destroy stereotypes.
To start over, to be the toughest,
the strongest,
the bravest in the world. And when we work together, we can make it all possible. That's why Citi has donated $500,000 to its Every Step of the Way program, an initiative created to help future athletes reach their full potential through sport programs that inspire us. Like figure skating in Harlem.
Like youth enrichment services. Like Team for Tomorrow.
The Team USA Stay on the Slopes initiative. Now spread the word and help decide how much of that money goes toward
offering personal support and financial assistance to Olympians in need.
Promoting the growth of hockey in the U.S.
Expanding the sport of luge into new regions.
Support for wounded service members. Join Team Citi and let's turn a world of potential into reality.
Go to citi.com/everystep and help decide where the money goes.
We at the CPR Worldwide Media Network, your constitutional patriot radio station, would like to take a moment to reach out to a portion of our listening audience, to the NSA, the mainstream media, to liberals masquerading as conservatives who would like to see us off the air, and to those who are spinning their wheels trying to take us down. We have a special message just for you. At the CPR Worldwide Media Network, we're happy to be your 24/7, 365 obsession because, while you have your little panties in a wad, we're speaking truth to power, telling real conservatives what you don't want them to hear, the truth, and we're not gonna stop. Now then, back under your collective bridges with the rest of your fellow trolls, and oh yes, thanks for listening to CPR.
This is a station identification moment. You're listening to CPR Worldwide Media, a division of CPR Media Network, coming to you live right across the planet. Check out our website at www.cprworldwidemedia.com and our Facebook page at facebook.com/CPR Worldwide Media. This is CPR Media Network, coming to you live from the USA.
Well, looky here, a new listener. Hey, this ain't your little sister's radio station.
You're listening to the second hour of Right Side Patriots on CPR Worldwide Media.
We, the people.
And welcome back to the second hour of Right Side Patriots. Craig Andreessen from the National Patriot with Diane Sori from the Patriot Factor, and together we are your Right Side Patriots. Folks, if you missed any part of the show on Wednesday with Mudar Zakran, you you want to make sure you stay tuned in after this show at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, because we are going to rebroadcast that show. This show will be rebroadcast later in the day. Go to CPRWorldwideMedia.com, check the schedule, and find out when. Diane, ISIS is still at it. It's not getting any better. If anything, it's getting worse. You know, one of the things that we were told, and this, again, there's been no explanation for this whatsoever coming from the White House. We were told a couple of months ago, and maybe not even that long ago, that Obama said, you know, we have stopped the spread of ISIS. Mm-hmm. Well, ISIS continues to spread. No explanation for it. Now, Obama's talking about going to Congress and asking for authorization for ramped up airstrikes. Well, if we've already got them contained, why do we need that? You know, there's no explanation for the juxtaposition there. But as everybody well knows, ISIS last week took the Jordanian pilot. Well, it wasn't last week. It was actually a month ago, but they released the video last week. They took the Jordanian pilot they've been holding since December, put him in a steel cage, and burned the man alive. Now we're getting word, not from U.S. sources, not from our mainstream media, not from our newspapers, not from our television, not from our radio, but from our sources in foreign countries.
Yes, especially in the United Kingdom. Craig and I are tied into some news sources. They're directly tied into them.
It's happened again.
It's them. In fact, it was first reported in the International Business Times, which is out of London, that these 3 civilians were burned to death. It was a copycat burning, like what they did to the pilot.
Yeah, that's what they're calling it.
A copycat. And they actually had the guts, I should say, to call it a copycat execution. They grabbed them after their Friday prayers, and the reason they executed them was they believed, they had no proof, but they believed that they were cooperating with the government forces.
Yeah, what they said was that these 3 people were feeding information to the Iraqi government as to the whereabouts of certain ISIS groups and cells and commanders and so on. So they rounded these 3 people up. No proof, no trial, no nothing. And they put them in steel cages and they burned them alive. They made the townspeople stand there and watch it. So what this was intended to do, you got to understand, these people that did this, these animals, these barbarians that did this, they don't give a damn whether these people actually did what they were accused of or not. What they wanted was 3 people they could put in a cage and light on fire so that the rest of the townspeople would shut the hell up. Mm-hmm. That they would be so terrified that they would never speak to another soul about anything going on. This town was the town of Hit, H-I-T. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. It might be Height, but I say Hit. It's about 110 kilometers west of Baghdad is where this took place. And as yet, nobody in our media is talking about it.
No. In fact, it was reported on Radio Free Iraq.
Yeah, I mean, that's where the first word came from.
Mm-hmm. And also the Almada Press News site, which is, they cited a local police source saying that they witnessed it. They actually witnessed what was happening. And this, folks, this is too much. This is too much. This has got to stop. But the only way it's going to stop, not with these limited airstrikes, these targeted airstrikes, it's only going to stop with boots on the ground. I'm sorry to say that. We need to carpet bomb 24/7 from one corner of ISIS's strongholds to the other. Non-stop carpet bombing. Collateral damage be damned for now, because it's war. You don't want war? Don't do these things. Yes, civilians are going to be killed, That's what happens in war. You don't want war, your civilians won't be killed. But carpet bomb 24/7. And then the ground forces come in from a different direction and take them out. We need the boots on the ground. I cannot stress that enough.
There's a lot of people out there that think, well, Jordan is lowering the boom on ISIS. Look, Jordan can lower the boom all they want. They can't stop them. No. They can barely slow them down. The Jordanian military really is an extra arm of our military, but the Jordanian military just does not have the numbers and the equipment and the capabilities, the strike capabilities to stop this. This is going to take a concerted effort. This is going to take more than just us, more than just them. If the goal is stopping ISIS, which I don't think that should be the goal, and I'll explain that in a minute. But if that's the goal, it's going to take a full-on assault that's going to have to last a long, long time. Now, here's one of the problems. Obama says that he wants to go to Congress and ask for further authorization to up the ante on the airstrikes. However, and this is always the thing with this idiot Obama, he's putting a time limit on it. He's saying, I want this to last 3 years. Well, yeah, let's start a war and tell the enemy exactly how long we're going to be at it. There's a good idea.
Yeah, so now the enemy, just like in Iraq and Afghanistan, can lay low for the 3 years, regroup, get more money into their war chest, recruit more people into it, and just sit there and twiddle their thumbs for 3 years. And then when the forces pull out again, when the boots pull out again, in they go again. This man is a traitor. He has now given away the date of withdrawal, and we're not even in there yet.
I mean, this is just absolutely insane. Okay? This is the way he wants to prosecute a war? Are you kidding me? Here's another part of the problem. We can put all the ground troops in there we want right now. The problem with that is, under the current Obama regime, our military has been, let's say, trained to win the hearts and minds of our enemy, not to crush them. Now, if we're going to go in there and take care of this problem, we have to change the rules of engagement almost 180 degrees from where they sit today. We have to let our military go do what our military is supposed to do, and that is soundly crush our enemies.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Obama
no other way to do
speaks
it.
of containing ISIS. You cannot contain ISIS. You have to exterminate ISIS. And I hate to use that word because of the connotations with the Nazi camps. But we do need to exterminate ISIS. Because ISIS really is a modern day version of the SS, of the Nazis.
It is.
Burning alive. What they did to the Jordanian pilot by burning him alive is actually parallel to what Hitler did throwing people alive into ovens.
I mean, there's really no difference. I did an article a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago now, where I did a direct comparison between Islam and ISIS. But here's part of the biggest part of the problem that I see, folks, is that stopping ISIS is only stopping ISIS. It does not stop Islam.
No.
You got to think of ISIS as just one tentacle on an octopus. And you cut off one tentacle from an octopus, it simply grows a replacement. Okay? You do the same to Islam, it simply spawns another evil replacement.
Yes.
If you want to stop this barbaric activity, you want to stop it cold, you've got to stop Islam. You can't segregate these individual, the Al-Qaedas, the Boko Harams, the Hamases, the Hezbollahs, ISIS, you name the group. Okay, you can't be separating them out because they all operate under one big umbrella called Islam.
Yes.
And unless you, I called it in an article I wrote the other day. I called ISIS. I said ISIS is a parasite. The host organism is Islam. You want to stop the parasite, stop the host organism.
Yes, and that's sad to say. That's sad to say. But you know what? In a way, it is a modern day crusade. ISIS loves to say that they're on a crusade. No. The West needs to be on a crusade, sadly, against Islam. Now, people like Mudar, who understand that Islam needs a reformation, let them reform Islam. And those who really believe in Allah for whatever reason, let them go with the Reformation.
One of the big sticking points that we're going to have in this is that Obama is still going to be in charge here for another 2 years, which means that's two more years of growth for Islam, for the caliphate. It's 2 more years for ISIS to line their pockets. And here's another part of the problem. This is something we learned with Mudar the other day when we had him on the show on Wednesday. The ISIS is paying their commanders royal amounts of money.
Yes.
I mean, staggering amounts of money, up to $1,500 per day.
Now, Craig, don't give away too much of our expose for tomorrow.
I'm not. I'm just saying. That's part of the problem. If you want to stop this nonsense, you want to stop this barbaric behavior, it's going to take more than bombs and bullets and ground troops. It's going to. We're almost looking here, folks, at a world war situation. And if this doesn't rise to that level, I don't know what does. It rose to this level with Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan back in the mid 20th century.
Yes.
I don't see much difference right now. The only difference I see now is that today we in the quote-unquote civilized world must be politically correct. Well,
Yes.
political correctness is going to kill us all.
And you know what's scary also, guys? A report came out yesterday, a U.S. government report, that ISIS now has operatives in 49 out of our 50 states. The only state without it is Alaska. And you can see why geographically. But apparently there are operatives in 49 out of 50 states. In other words, there are sleeper cells. And all a sleeper cell is doing is waiting for that call to jihad. Don't think for a minute that what happened over there to that pilot cannot happen here. It can. And next time it happens, it might even make 9/11 pale in comparison.
Well, not only what happened to the pilot, but what just happened to these 3 civilians, because
Yes.
that's even more pressing. I mean, the pilot is a military guy. He was a prisoner of war. These 3 civilians, okay, were just minding their own business. They were
Yes.
doing what they do on a daily basis. They were thrown into a cage and burned alive. That is the type of thing they want to bring here.
Yes. And you know what? The military man, the pilot being burned alive, is extremely serious because prisoners of war are supposed to be under the auspices of the Geneva Convention. They're supposed to be treated a certain way. Now, ISIS doesn't even respect that. They respect nothing. Their God is blood and death. That's their God. This goes even beyond Allah. This is a group of madmen. These are perverted people that are doing these things because no sane person could do these kind of acts.
Well, yeah, if we ever catch the guy that lit the, that held the torch and lit that fire, God forbid we should pour water over his face.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Isn't that the sad thing? I saw something on that.
I mean, think about that for a moment. I mean, James Woods brought that up
That's
the
where
other
I
day.
saw
James
it. Okay.
James Woods, an actor who says he'll probably never act again because he's on the right side of the aisle and he's making it well known. But he said, God forbid, if we catch the guy that lit the fire, we should pour a glass of water over his face. That would be cruel.
Yes. Yes. You know what? If we ever caught the guy that lit that fire, put him in a room with the parents and the wife of the Jordanian pilot and let them handle it.
It's just amazing to me that our military has the capability of stopping this. They have the capability, they have the equipment, they have the wherewithal to stop this. They are not allowed. Our military has to go into these battles with their hands tied behind their backs. And that is all part of the new rules of engagement. And folks, those rules have got to change. If we don't change those rules of engagement so that our military can go in and just crush these bastards, then I'm telling you, the whole world is going to be in for a hurting.
Yeah, and it's very sad because, like Craig said, we do have the capabilities militarily and with boots to get rid of ISIS, to get rid of Al-Qaeda, to get rid of them all. We can do it. But we have a president who will not allow it because these are his blood brethren. Their blood courses through his veins. Don't let him or the Democrats try to fool you. His loyalty is to them. His actions, his words prove where his loyalties lie. It is not with the United States. It is not with the Constitution. It is not to the Judeo-Christian principles our nation was founded upon. His loyalties are to the Quran, are to Islam, are to those out to kill us all. And people need to understand this. The one good thing, if you could even say good thing, came out of the Jordanian pilot's death was that people are now starting to wake up. People are starting to understand the enemy we are facing. And let me say one more thing, Craig. All of you people out there who are afraid to look at the video because you don't want your emotional sensibilities upset, no, you need to look at that video, the full video, not the one the MSM is putting out, all doctored and cut so you don't see him screaming in agony. No, you need to see the real, uncut video produced by ISIS to really understand the enemy that we're facing. So you cry, so you gag, so you absolutely gasp in horror. You need to see it. Because just hearing about it doesn't cut it anymore.
Let me throw something else into the mix here. You think this is all going to end just because Obama gets out of office in 2 years? Well, it depends.
Yes.
Okay. You put Hillary in office, you vote for a third party or a write-in candidate, and you help the next liberal get elected? Let me tell you, you think about what Diane just said about that video. If you've seen it, you know exactly what we're talking about. If you haven't seen it, damn it, you need to. But you think about that video, and then you think long and hard about Hillary's words. We need to empathize with our enemies and see things from their point of view. We need to empathize with that? Are you kidding me? There is no empathizing with that. What we need to do is empathize with the victims of Islam. We need to empathize with the people around the world who are being slaughtered by Islam. We need to empathize with the people who have done nothing wrong. These 3 that were burned and hit. We need to empathize with them, not with the enemy. No, we need to destroy the enemy. We need to crush them into the sands of time. But we do not need to empathize with them.
No. Empathizing with them, and I'm going to use a religious analogy, which I never do because people know I'm not really, uber religious here. We cannot empathize with the devil. And if any group besides the Nazis ever came close to being like the devil is purported to be, it's ISIS.
It's an absolutely astonishing situation where we have a military that is fully capable of the absolute destruction of this enemy being held back because wouldn't it be better if we just could win their hearts and minds, if we could just see things from their point of view, if we could just empathize with the enemy? Wouldn't it be better in the long run if we could all just coexist?
You cannot coexist with people out to kill you. Islam does not give you a choice. You cannot be a moderate, a conservative, an orthodox, whatever terms go to whatever religions. No, you have to be their way, their so-called religion. There's no deviations allowed. You have to follow the Quran. You have to be commanded by the Quran to do certain things. If you're not, your heads will roll, and now we find out you'll be burnt. And one thing people are forgetting about this video, which is not really out there, but the reason some people have asked, why didn't this man back up in his cage? Why didn't he try to climb the bars, whatever, to escape the flames? He was nailed to the floor, people. There was no escape.
He could move around in there, but here's the thing. If you look at the very beginning of that video, there is a small trench just on the inside of that cave that's full of gasoline.
Yes.
The sand around him was soaked in gasoline. He was soaked in gasoline. He was literally surrounded by armed ISIS barbarians.
Yes.
If he'd have tried to have gotten out of there, they'd have shot him. They would have shot him.
Craig? You know what, Craig? One thing I noticed right away, and some of our listeners might have noticed it, whenever we see ISIS committing these atrocities, whenever we see them in the field, entering the towns, whatever, remember, people, these people are cowards. They always have their faces, their identities covered. And you know why they do that? Because deep down they know that they're going to lose in the end. And if their faces are out there, they could be retaliated against once the war is over. And believe me, guys, we are going to win this. It's probably not going to be under Barack Hussein Obama. It will probably be under a President Cruz, a President Walker. That's wishful thinking on my part. We're not going to win it under Obama because he does not have the will or the want to stop ISIS. But we will win in the end. And so these cowards cover their faces. They don't want to be identified.
They remember the deck of playing cards from the first Iraqi war. They don't want their faces on those cards. They don't want to be identified. They don't want to be the most wanted in whatever hellhole they decide to try and live out their lives.
Yes. And you know what a laugh is? One of the officials, I believe it was in the Obama administration, said that, we can beat ISIS easy. Offer anyone who turns them in huge amounts of money. Well, guess what? Those that turn them in are going to end up in fires as well. This is not how you deal with this enemy. It's bullets and bombs and boots on the ground.
It's the only way to do it, folks. We're going to have to take a quick break. When we come back, Diane's article from The Fire, Truth Emerges. And we'll kind of wrap things up on a little bit lighter note. My article about Tom Brady's balls.
Every time I hear that.
I'm just saying. Somebody had to
laugh because this show and this week's events have been very heavy and horrific, and everybody's heart just breaks for this pilot. Brave man.
Folks, don't go anywhere. Diane and I will be back after this.
Why do cities shine so bright? It's the glow of opportunities, of ideas bouncing off one another, of countless people, every one of us, striving to succeed. Right now, in cities everywhere, ideas are being born. New thinking that will put us in awe of what people are capable of. That's what lights cities up, and helping people and their ideas to burn even brighter. so that communities, businesses, and you and I can grow. What if a bank made that its job? For more than 200 years, Citi's job has been to help empower people and business. Now, around the world, it's wherever people gather, wherever ideas come alive. It's wherever you are. The world's city.
The most amazing thing about the Ford Fusion isn't the way it looks. The most amazing thing is the way it sees. With blind spot technology, a lane keeping system, and a standard rear view camera, the Fusion is ready for whatever comes your way. Go prepared. Go further.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
The network wants to treat me right. Y'all can take the change and stick it out of sight. Don't tread on me. Don't you tread on me. Hey, are you ready for some good news? We're gonna take back our country. Well, it used to be easy, get a place, build a house. Now the EPA said no, that's the home of the blue mouse. Don't tread on me. Don't you tread on me. We're gonna use some common sense and we're gonna take back our country. Well, they've beaten to death that pole race horse. This politically correct thing has run its course. Don't tread on me. Don't you tread on me. Hey, are you ready for some good news? We're gonna take back our country. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Bing. Lots of divorces from showing them bangs.
Why don't you mind your own business?
That's good advice.
Mind your own business.
Dad got it right.
But if you mind your business, then you won't be minding your mind.
Every sign says for sale, for lease. Price reduced. Make an offer, please. Don't tread on me. Don't you tread on me. Hey, are you ready for some good news? We're gonna take back our country. There's no way today we could build Boulder Dam. There'd be way too many government permit scams. Don't tread on me. Don't you tread on me. Hey, are you ready for the good news? We're gonna take back this country. Hey, Barack, pack your bags, head to Chicago. Take your teleprompter with you so you'll know where to go.
So move it on over. Move it on over. Move it on over. Move it on over. Move over, little dog, 'cause the big dog's moving in.
Hey, 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 move it on over.
Move it on over.
Slide it on over.
Move it on over.
Hey, are you ready for some good news? Are you ready for some good news?
And welcome back to Right Side Patriots. Craig Andreessen from the National Patriot. Diane Story from the patriotfactor.blogspot.com. And Diane, you've got just a fantastic article out right now. And you and I are actually, and we'll mention this, we'll bring this up a little bit here in a couple of minutes too, but you and I are actually working on another combined piece, even as we speak.
Yes. And guys, it's going to shock you a little bit, and some people are going to go, what? And what's happening right now is not quite what it seems as far as Jordan and its retaliation.
Yeah, let's just leave it at that and let people wonder.
Yes.
But we'll have this out tomorrow morning in both of our blogs, so you can read all about it then. And I'll just say one more thing about it. As big a fan as King Abdullah is of us already, he is actually going to love us when we get done with this. Huh?
Oh, yeah, he's going to love us even more than he does. And we say that sarcastically because Abdullah is no fan of ours, and we are no fan of his.
So that gives you a little idea of what's coming tomorrow. Yes. Hello, King, in case you're listening today.
Hi, Abe.
Yeah. But anyway, Diane, let's get into this article of yours, From the Fire Truth Emerges.
Okay, and I'm only going to touch upon this, guys, because this show has been about what's happened with Islam and what needs to be done to ISIS, to all of Islam. And seeing this article brings back me viewing that video and the man's cries of agony, and it's very upsetting. But people, like I said, do need to see it. But one thing we've always spoken about, both Craig and I, is why Islam itself needs to be taken out, besides just ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and all the other tentacles. There is the term, this is a quote, by the way, the term moderate Islam is ugly and offensive. There is no moderate Islam. Islam is Islam, and that's it. That is a direct quote from Turkish Prime Minister Recep Erdogan, who rejects the West's notion in its entirety that so-called moderate Islam exists. He is reiterating the fact that Islam is one unto itself. There are no moderates, there are no conservatives, there are no orthodox. It is one thing. Islam is Islam is Islam. And people, we need to remember that as we do go to war with them, because whether Obama and his people like it or not, boots on the ground will go in. They will in the end. They're going to go in. It's better to do it now while our military, while our allies have that fire in the belly. You put it off long enough, that fire is going to die. And then we're going to be going in for hearts and minds of the enemy again. No, we cannot do that. The time for that, although it never should have been, the time for that is over. And you know what, guys? I'll go one step further. If this gets so out of hand that these people start spreading, I mean really spreading, not an isolated attack like a Charlie Hebdo, but I mean really infiltrating, the nuclear option even needs to be on the table. Remember one thing also. Everybody's complaining about Putin now as far as the Ukraine, and they have every right to do so. However, one thing you need to remember is Putin hates the Muslims, the Islamists, as much as we do. He's not going to stop ISIS from being taken out. I don't care what anyone says. He is not an ally. But in this battle, he is not going to stop ISIS from being taken out. And basically, guys, this was upsetting to see this video, to see these pictures. And I really don't want to go into too much about this article because it brings up everything again that we need to really see. You really need to visually see, not just hear about it. You need to visually see what these savages do. So I'm just going to leave you with one thing before we get into a lighter note with Craig's balls here.
Wait a minute, that's not my balls. It's Tom Brady's balls.
True, it's not Craig's balls. Always remember, Islam is Islam is Islam, and ISIS is Islam. And Islam in the guise of ISIS is what killed, what executed one of their own. One of their own. And if they can kill one of their own, you need to know that they will kill us as well. You really need to think about that and then get the bullets and bombs ready. Because once they come here, we will have to be behind every blade of grass. And with that, Craig, I think we need to end our Saturday show on a lighter note.
Well, if this doesn't do it, I don't know what will.
Right. I mean, talking about balls, come on.
Like I said, I spent a week in the hospital, 5 days. And, I got out of the hospital just in time to watch the Super Bowl. But while I was in there, it's just, when you're not able to sit and write articles and do radio shows and things for several days in a row that way, you kind of start to pay attention maybe a little bit to the trends of what's going on in the news and not so much laser focus on things. So I kind of wanted to make sure I had this all straight in my head because it just didn't. It seemed like such a weird juxtaposition. I figure ISIS is still beheading anybody who doesn't take up with them, and they're massacring any and all of any actual religion over their pedophile prophets' ideology of hate and genocide. This week, they burned people to death, and they have broadcast it. Do I have that correct? Iran is still in the process of becoming the first 7th century barbaric country on earth to have the most deadly 21st century weapons and a delivery system. Of course, we're talking about nukes and ICBMs. Is that about right? Obama, who will not meet with Netanyahu because protocol says it's too close to the Israeli election, is sending a 5-person staff, including his 2012 field campaign manager, a guy by the name of Jeremy Bird, over to Israel to run the anti-Netanyahu campaign, because that apparently doesn't violate protocol. I mean, I don't get it, but I guess I think I've got that right. Obama says he wants a $4 trillion budget. Holy crap, really? With more tax hikes? Seriously? But last week, as I said, was Super Bowl weekend, and the biggest stories that were floating around out there, not only in the halls of the hospital where I was, trying to get over my pancreatitis, but also on social media, were that Tom Brady had been playing with his balls deflated, or was it playing with his deflated balls? I could never quite. I was never really sure. Bruce Jenner is about to become a very unattractive woman. And Katy Perry apparently was using dark magic and promoted the LGBT in her Illuminati-inspired halftime show at the Super Bowl. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, people, you got to get a grip. You got to. Now let's start with Tom Brady if we're going to talk about grips. Okay? I don't give a squirrel's nuts about Brady's balls. I really don't. Now, I understand there are rules, and it seems that a few weeks ago some of those rules may have been broken regarding the underinflation of footballs. But I'm sure the NFL, after a complete and very in-depth, thorough investigation, the likes of which only a fox can handle on behalf of a hen house, the NFL is going to figure out what happened to Brady's balls, and that will all be revealed to us, I'm sure, in a pay-per-view event. Okay, probably on the NFL Network. Now, here's how I understand the whole thing. Somebody please correct me if I'm wrong. When Brady's balls are a little softer, it's easier for him to grip them, especially if they happen to be wet, which they were when he was throwing them at Rob Gronkowski, who it seems enjoys being on the receiving end of Brady's balls whenever possible. Now, even if you've ever seen what Gronk does to Brady's balls that he scores with, if I were Brady, I'd find a different tight end as my favorite pass catcher. Gronk can be pretty hard on balls. All you have to do to fix this whole problem is squeeze Brady's balls before every game, squeeze them again at halftime, and squeeze them at the end of the game. If they're low on air, pump them up. Case closed. Now, let's move on to Katy Perry and her halftime show. She comes out riding a 20-foot-tall, shiny, golden, metallic lioness singing her hit song, Roar. Okay? That's how her halftime show opens up. At least that's the way I saw it when I watched it. The website, before its news, apparently saw some other halftime show, and I'm not sure what they were watching. Maybe it was the Puppy Bowl. But here's how they described it. Quote, Katy Perry opened riding a golden monster with glowing red satanic eyes, singing the lyrics to her hit Dark Horse. And then they advise you to find a copy of the lyrics and read them closely because, quote, it's the devil speaking and he's coming for you if he can. So the golden monster was actually a stage prop being operated from underneath by people wearing black outfits so that they would remain as unseen as possible in a darkened stadium. And the song that, before its news claims, was being sung from atop the golden monster with satanic eyes is not the song that was actually being sang. That was the second song that she performed. And when she performed that song, she was on a stage dancing with chrome chess pieces. Okay. So then the halftime show continued with a duet, Katy Perry and Lenny Kravitz singing Katy's I Kissed a Girl. Now, according to Before It's News, she performed her LGBT fan favorite, I Kissed a Girl, leading as many young women as will follow her into experimentation with the LGBT perverted lifestyle, unquote. I got news for the mother hens over at Before It's News. Girls have been experimenting long before Katy Perry started singing about kissing girls. I mean, most of the girls I've kissed, that's how they learned to kiss. Okay, and thank God they did. It's just crazy. Nobody, you don't hear any outcry of people saying, I'm going to go kiss, women or girls say, I'm going to go kiss another girl because Katy Perry sang about it. The only people that are marching around saying that are the people that are pretending to be disgusted by it. These people are insane, Diane. Before It's News completely skipped the part with Missy Elliott. I'm assuming because they couldn't understand the rap lyrics, but that's okay. Neither could I. Then she closed with her song Firework. And Before It's News wrote, Perry closed with another pro-LGBT song called Firework, where she floated over the audience riding a shooting star with the LGBT rainbow as its tail. The New World Order and Illuminati agenda are being hammered down our children's throats at a feverish pace, using catchy lyrics and non-stop droning drum beats, overwhelming power chords.
Yes. Do you know, Craig, the only reason that these people on this religious-based site are kind of pissed at Katy Perry is for the simple reason that she was born Christian but renounced Christianity. I don't know what she follows now, but she's no longer a Christian. And they can't take it when even one person leaves their flock.
As I understand it, she's kind of a deist now. She believes in a higher being. She believes in God. She just doesn't go in for the trappings of any organized religion.
Oh,
so in that case,
does that sound like someone you know?
It sounds a lot like a bunch of our founders and framers to me.
Yeah, and someone else you know.
It's somebody else I know. Look, I swear to God, these yahoos, when they walk outside after a spring rain and see that arch of color across the sky, I guess the very first thing they must think of is gay leprechauns. I mean, yeah, every time they see a rainbow, oh my God, LGBT. I mean, look, I'm no fan of the LGBT and their agenda. Trust me, I'm not. They're a bunch of loudmouth yahoos that generally don't know what they're talking about. But good grief, people. It was a 12-minute halftime show, 12 whole minutes. And this bunch of perverts thinks it was staged by Satan, sponsored by the Illuminati, and performed solely for the entertainment of the New World Order lesbians because apparently, according to them, that's what's going to destroy the earth. All right. Finally, we had Bruce Jenner. All right. Again, people who pretend to be conservatives are up in arms because Bruce Jenner apparently wants to live out his life as a woman, and somehow it's their business. Okay, I don't think it's mine, but they think it's theirs. The same people who claim they don't want government messing in their lives are more than willing to tell the rest of us how to live our lives. Now, I just got to say, I almost care as much about Bruce Jenner deflating his balls as I do about whether or not Tom Brady's balls were deflated. And to be perfectly honest with you, I'm sick and tired of being told by people whose noses are always up some dude's skirt what I should be concerned with. We had a little tiff in social media the other day. Somebody by the name of Cindy O'Neill on Facebook put up a post of disgust regarding Bruce Jenner, to which Diane here said, well, how come this is such a big important thing anyway, considering all the real threats, like the ones I mentioned, that we face as a nation? And O'Neill and a bunch of others, I guess, shot back, because it's all over the tabloids in the grocery store line, so I guess it's news. That's why. So because it's right there between the Elvis is alive and living on Mars and the MH370 was found fused inside Noah's Ark headlines, maybe I should be getting all knotted up over Bruce Jenner as becoming a woman? Well, guess what, folks? I'm not. But I do wonder how many of the holy roller women color their hair, so they look different than they really are, trying to fool people. I don't know.
And you forget also part of the reason that they attack me is because I simply said, and I never mentioned the word gay at all, never even went in that direction. What I said was these social issues that you all seem so concerned about are actually states' issues. That's what Article 5 is concerned about. These are issues in our own Constitution that belong on the states' levels. Well, they did not like that, because these are the people that believe that anything related to gays are the most dangerous thing facing our country today. Not ISIS, not Obama, not threats from any other country. Nothing is more dangerous than gay people.
Well, I think maybe, and I don't know, because, it's not really my business, it's his or hers or whatever. But maybe the reason Bruce Jenner is wanting to become a woman is so that he can try and kiss Katy Perry and see if he likes it. I mean, all I want to do is get back to real news, folks. I mean, look, this crap is nothing but distractions. It's meant to distract you and take you away from the real news and the real things that are happening and the real threats that we face in this country and around the world. If we're gonna get back to the real news, all I'm saying is that we've got to leave Tom Brady's balls out of it.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so sick of hearing about Tom Brady's balls. Basically deflated footballs, wet footballs, dry footballs, anything footballs. The stupid bowl, as I call it. The stupid bowl is over. Let it go until next fall, please.
We got bigger fish to fry, than Brady's balls.
We have an enemy knocking at our door. We have a president trying to destroy us from within. We have so many problems. Americans are still out of work with lying economic job numbers that the administration keeps touting that are anything but true. We have people being sent to a corner with 2 aspirins because Obamacare won't cover them. We have death panels. We have this, we have that. But all these people are worried about is that Bruce Jenner appears to be transitioning. My God, that's an issue between him and his family. What do you care what one man does?
Well, it's going to destroy the economy and nature as we know it.
I guess, and it's going to corrupt the family, and it's going to do this, and it's going to do that. One man transitioning is going to do all of that. I didn't know Bruce Jenner had such power. Did you, Craig?
Well, I didn't either, but at least Chaz Bono can get a date now.
He's married to somebody.
Is he? Okay. I don't know. I don't see. What do I care? I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I mean, come on. It's not affecting my life in any way at all. So what do I care? Good grief, people. Get a grip, and not on Brady's balls. He doesn't really like that, from what I hear. Folks, if you missed any part of Wednesday's show, we're going to rebroadcast it in exactly 5 minutes. Right here on CPR Worldwide Media. If you missed any of this show, including Brady's Balls. We are going to rebroadcast that later in the day. You'll want to go to CPRWorldwideMedia.com, check the schedule, and find out when. Diane and I are going to be putting the finishing touches on a jointly written article. We're going to get that done today. We're going to publish it both in her blog, thepatriotfactor.blogspot.com, and my blog, thenationalpatriot.com, first thing in the morning. And when I say first thing, I mean like midnight. You don't get much more first thing.
12:02, it's up.
You don't get much more first thing than that.
Right.
So we're both getting better. Obviously, we're both feeling a little bit better than we did last week. Thank you for bearing with us through a few repeat shows. We're just glad to be back and approaching 70%. So,
well, mate, you're 70%. I might be about 80, 85. I'm actually going to venture out to the grocery store for the first time in almost 3 weeks. Monday will be 3 weeks because my husband has been doing the shopping while I've been sick. No, guys. As you women know, that doesn't go over very well. You know, we have stuff that never enters my house has now entered it, so I need to correct that.
Folks, have a great weekend. Diane, time to say goodbye.
Bye, guys.
Well, when I was a kid, I'd take a trip every summer down to Mississippi, visit my granny and her antebellum world. I'd run barefooted all day long, climbing trees, free as a song. One day, I happened to catch myself a squirrel. Well, I stuffed him down in an old shoebox and punched a couple holes in the top. When Sunday came, I snuck him into church. I was sitting way back in the very last pew, showing him to my good buddy Hugh. When that squirrel got loose, went totally berserk. What happened next is hard to tell. Some thought it was heaven, others thought it was hell. But the fact that something was among us was plain to see. As the choir sang, I surrender all, the squirrel ran up Harv Newland's coveralls, and Harv leaped to his feet and said, "Something's got a hold on me!" Yeah! The day the squirrel went berserk in the first self-righteous church in that sleepy little town of Pascagoula. It was a fight for survival that broke out in revival. They were jumping pews and shouting, "Hallelujah!" Well, Harv hit the out dancing and screaming. Some thought he had religion, others thought he had a demon, and Harv thought he had a weed eater loose and he screwed the moon. He fell to his knees to plead and beg, and that squirrel ran out of his breeches leg unobserved to the other side of the room. All the way down to the amen pew where sat Sister Bertha Better Than You, who'd been watching all the commotion with sadistic glee. Should have seen that look in her eyes when that squirrel jumped her garters and crossed her thighs. She jumped to her feet and said, "Lord, have mercy on me." As that squirrel made laps inside her dress, she began to cry and then to confess to sins and make a sailor blush with shame. She told of gossip and church dissension, but the thing that got the most attention was when she talked about her love life. And then she started naming names. The day the squirrel went berserk in the first self-righteous church in that sleepy little town of Pascagoula. It was a fight for survival that broke out in revival. They were jumping pews and shouting, "Hallelujah!" 7 deacons and the pastor got saved, and $25,000 was raised, and 50 volunteered for missions in the Congo on the spot. And even without an invitation, there were at least 500 rededications, and we all got rebaptized whether we needed it or not. Now you've heard the Bible story, I guess, how he parted the waters for Moses to pass. Oh, the miracles God has wrought in this old world. But the one I'll remember till my dying day is how he put that church back on the narrow way with a half-crazed Mississippi squirrel. The day the squirrel went berserk in the first self-righteous church in that sleepy little town of Pascagoula. It was a fight for survival that broke